Well, cheers for coming today, everyone. We have got Josh. Josh is here today, and he's not very well, but he's made it and brought the beer and drinks and stuff. So thanks for saving the day, Josh. And we usually have vegan food options, but unfortunately today the vegan pizzas didn't turn up, and Josh has tried to find vegan options. So we usually do have vegan options, so apologies for the inconvenience. Just want to talk through our sponsors. So we've got S&A. They're a data and AI academy. They help with internal upskilling. So in your org, if you're looking to upskill some senior engineers, some data engineers, this is the fastest route to do so. Come and speak to us if you'd like to get in touch with them. Alex is also, I think he's on his way to Vegas or something, but he's usually here from Hyperloop. He's got a lot of jobs that he's recruiting for, and also if you're looking to recruit for a job, definitely get in touch with Alex at Hyperloop. He's sorted me a couple of jobs. And we're also looking for another sponsor as well. So if your company's looking to sponsor a meetup, get in touch with us. Just grab us during the day. So yeah, a little bit more about Hyperloop, Alex. If you are looking for a role, come and let me know and I'll put you in touch with him. Vice versa, if you're actually looking to hire, he'll be able to help with that as well. We're doing a JetBrains giveaway as always. So it's a 1-year license for any of the JetBrains products. So you have to scan this thing. I'm going to pass it around. If you want to scan it, you just have to enter your email. At the end of the talks, we'll do a draw. And these are all of the products that you can get with your free license. Definitely worth it. So we're taking pictures and we're putting them on LinkedIn and Meetup and stuff like that. If you don't want to be on those pictures, just grab one of us, let us know. We'll make sure that you're not on those pictures. And yeah, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Faith for about, is it self-healing pipelines? Yes. Yeah, fantastic. And we've got 2 talks today. So we've also got a platform talk from Melissa. So there's still some pizza left, there's some drinks, help yourself. And I'll hand it over to, that's the end of the slides, yeah? Swap the machines. You all good? Have you got your own device, Faith? Or? Yeah. Amazing. There you go. Is that around blue nice?
Hey, this is my second time in Liverpool. The first time I came here for nightlife. But it's really interesting to see the community that's been built in Liverpool. And it seemed quite popular as well. I was having a talk about 2 weeks ago and I'd mentioned .NET Liverpool. And the person said to me, oh, yes, I know them. It seemed quite popular. So it's an opportunity to be here today to give a talk to the awesome audience. My name is Faith. More introduction about myself as we get into the talk today. Is there any Marvel fan in the house? Marvel. Yeah. Who's your favorite superhero? Don't say Spider-Man, please. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So these two guys are my favorite. Even though they have very contrasting personalities. The one on top, it's a little bit funny. The other one doesn't smile a lot. But there's something so common to both of them. It's the ability for them to be able to self-heal themselves. And aside the fact that they're both from Canada, anyways. But the reason why I've put them in as a poster is just to give you the idea of what I'm about to talk about today. Now, self-healing pipelines. How can intelligent systems detect, diagnose, and recover from failures automatically? In the next slide, I'm going to give a brief introduction about myself. Now, who am I? I've been doing software for about 6.5 years now. I've worked across a couple of technologies, but C# and .NET is like the grounded one that I use often. I also work with a nonprofit called CodeBar. I'm a coach. We do virtual coaching, virtual workshops, and I also go to Derby to have this coaching physically. And I've also just joined as a co-organizer. I speak. I also work with mentorship cycles for different organizations from time to time. I also have an MSc in cybersecurity that I'm not sure I'm going to use, but we get to see as time goes on. Couple of 10Ks. I'm having an half marathon next month, which I'm excited for. And I'm also looking to join the Spartan race later this year. And I support the best club in the world. Yeah. Okay. That's enough about me. Could be questions like, what exactly is self-healing pipelines and why are they important? I'm going to give you some facts here. You would agree with me that deployment failures could actually disrupt the whole delivery process. We've seen it before. I have seen it before. And aside that, when something goes wrong, the time to recover from it, depending on the experience of the team and the complexity of the problem, the time could move from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending. And then in distributed systems where there are loads of interconnected services, the surface of problems and complexity is really, really big. Because the more services you have, the more interconnected stuff you have, the more problem and the harder it is to actually be able to solve all these issues by the time problems, because you don't know exactly which node and which service to trace. Outages has happened. And there was a joke on Twitter when the Cloudflare thing went down, and someone said, oh, it could be an intern, the person probably deployed something. So that gives us the idea that pipelines, delivery pipelines, are very important. Real life story, this was me. About 2 years ago, during the holiday season, I think it was Christmas time, I used to work for a financial technology company. And during the holidays, people want to do a lot of transactions. They want to send money. They just want to do a lot of transactions. My project manager said to me, Faith, this is really going to be cool because, it's the holiday season. We need to do this quickly. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I know my job. I'll do it. And then I did it. It took about an hour. Test passed. It was all green on my laptop. Just the way the engineers would say, it works on my laptop. But of course, it did. And then I pushed the code But because I know my onions, that is subjective anyways. I know exactly what I do. I didn't pay attention to what was going on, but something was happening. Chaos in the pipeline. Everywhere was red. And because I already had a glass of whiskey, I had to sleep. I was fast asleep. So all of the mails coming in, I didn't even see it. How that ended, you don't want to know. But these guys, I call them the fixers. You can see the plumber, you can see the electrician, and the guy making the barbecue, the one on top. So all of these guys come together to provide a solution. And that's what we're going to be experiencing today, what I'm going to be explaining today. What is my definition of self-healing pipeline? Any system, any deployment pipeline that is able to detect anomalies, diagnose root causes, execute remediation, and then improve over time is a self-healing pipeline. If your deployment pipeline doesn't have any of this, or maybe you have 3 and not 4, you're not quite there yet. I'm guessing we have engineers in the house, people that work with deployment pipelines every single day. You're familiar with these 3 stages. And if something happens at this stage, fine. I mean, it's all right. At this stage, maybe you could lose your job or get a query. But if something happens at this stage, you don't get to answer to your employer anymore. You get to answer to his customers. And these stages are the very important stages where we have decided to create a patch loop to say at every single stage, we want to make sure that we have a fixer on standby to help us. And these are some of the issues that could happen. I'm not going to go through them, but these are some of the things that could happen at every single stage. This is the very obvious one. You could have seen a situation where you updated an app and then something stopped working. That is what happens at the post-deployment stage. Now, someone would ask me, traditional pipelines, the pipelines that we know that run on AWS or Azure, how is it different from this thing you're talking about? Looking at the architecture, we have the source control that speaks directly to the release engine. This release engine could be GitHub Actions, Circle CI, whatever you want to use. And that is where the traditional pipeline stops. But the self-healing pipelines introduces 4 major components. And all of these 4 components work together to create an intelligent system. All of this, we're going to touch on them, these 4 guys, as we move on in the slides. This guy at the bottom, which is the data lake, see that as the brain of the body. This is where all of the actions, all of the things that you remember, the things you foresee, this is where they're stored. And these guys on the right are what exactly fits this guy, that provides us with the information to be able to provide intelligent decisions in the future. Git logs, build failures, the metrics you have in your app, the alerts, the traces, all of this are signals that power the system to be very intelligent. Well, let's look at the very first layer, which is the monitoring layer. Don't forget, it sits on the release engine. And that's the beginning of where intelligent systems are being built. Now, what does it do? Let's have a look at it. What does it do? And I'm going to read that word for word. It says, rather than just having logs that tell us what may have gone wrong, engineers in the house usually put logs in the applications just to know what has happened. That's all what logs is for. When something goes wrong, you go into, I don't know, you go into your log, whatever, and then it tells you exactly what has gone wrong. But it doesn't do anything more than that. It tells you, but it doesn't fix it for you. Now, this layer is now a system that can self-investigate itself. It can self-fix, learn from patterns, and be able to provide feedbacks to engineers even before the customers wake up. And I think that is really fantastic. And I have a nice quote there that says, patterns repeat, learn them, and then you're able to predict them in the future. Now, this layer is responsible for monitoring your logs. It monitors the metrics in your application. It does anomaly detection and some other things like dependency analysis and whatnot. It's so robust that it's the first entry point away from a traditional CI/CD pipeline to building that robust intelligence system. Now, what exactly are intelligent agents? These guys work together. When I was in primary school, because I'm from Nigeria, so we use primary schools. There was a very, very great topic I wouldn't forget. It's called division of labor. So when you're building a house, you have the plumber, you have the bricklayer, you have the guy that do the roof, you have the guy that do the tie, whatnot. So responsibilities is being shared across components. Now we have these three components, which forms the intelligent agent that sits in our self-healing system. But the first one is diagnostic. It's very straightforward. You have an headache, that's a symptom of something. Then it maps it to a probable cause. It could be you need rest, it could be you are dehydrated. Basically, it picks the symptoms and then it maps it to probable causes. There could be multiple causes of that. The remediation one, when you have the headache, you go to a pharmacy, for example, to get an OTC medicine, and then you get there, you use that. When you use the medicine provides a solution to the headache. And that's what remediation agents do. The escalation one is if you buy medicine and then after 3 days, you don't see any change, they advise you to go to your doctor. That is what the escalation agent does. Once the confidence level is less than the threshold that has been set in the system, it says, you know what, I don't think I can fix this. Then you alert the engineers and it swings straight into action. There are different ways to creating solutions to problems in a self-healing pipeline. It could come in a way of being reactive to problems, and it could just be a seer and just predict what's going to happen. There are different issues that could come up to make the pipeline react rather than predict. And the other way around, it could just smell trouble from afar and say, you know what, I think I can predict this issue, and based on that, I'm just going to, based off what I know, I'm just going to spin up a solution quickly. So these are some of the things that could happen. It could trigger the job at the reactive stage. It could just reset the pipeline. Or you know what, it might just say, I can just restart the service. Because I'll tell you something, service restart is one of the very powerful things, just the way you reboot your computer. A lot of things are being released. A lot of resources are being reallocated. And then the predictive one, it could do any of this. It could suspend the deployment. It could look at shifting the traffic gradually, so we just have evenly distributed resources. The major core, or one of the core, of building a self-healing pipeline is having machine learning. Because if your system can't learn from signals, then it's not really smart. Because that's exactly what AI does. AI is a form of machine learning. Machine learning has been in the buzz for years, just as AI. Or AI got recognition, like 10 years ago. But the essence of machine learning is to be able to pick data from different data points and then use that to make a very informed decision. Now let's look at what machine learning is, some of the things or the way machine learning can actually come in helping us build a solid pipeline. You could look at the time series spikes to see at this time, certain percentage of CPU was consumed. Maybe because it's at peak time. Maybe we're just going to hold off with the deployment at that point and make sure that we are off peak time to be able to roll out the deployment. That way, you're saying that your deployment is going to go through because you're not going to be consuming resources and you just have enough to spare. And you can look at the behavior of the pipeline historically, what has happened in the past. And based off that, you could say, oh, this happened like last 2 weeks ago, and this is what I did. And if it sees that pattern coming up, it just spins up a solution predictively so that you don't even get to the point where the pipeline crashes or it does something very funny. And of course, you could look at the frequencies of deployment, success to failure ratio. Based off that, it could make its own decision. All of this, what are the possible outcomes that we can have? We talked about predictive healing, which is to predict the likelihood of failure in the future. And of course, you could have rollback recommendation. This is going to be a problem for us. Let's just roll it back. And then we have root cause analysis, ability to be able to automate the root cause analysis. And then in situations where we have multiple solutions, it looks for the shortest, quickest solution by prioritizing them on each other. Let's look at the end-to-end flow. From the position of a developer to what happens in the pipeline. So I'm a developer, and I've just finished a feature. Push my code to GitHub or whatever source control we use. The pipeline builds, picks it up, does the checks, depending on the policies that has been set, and then the pipeline fails. It might not even be the test. The pipeline might just fail. A lot of things will happen. Infrastructure downtime, deadlocks, a lot of things. At the level of a traditional pipeline, the buck ends there. At that point, we have engineers trying to recover the system. Oh, let's look at what happened. Let's try and fix this. Let's try and push a new change. But because our system is so smart and intelligent, it picks the job from there. And it passes on to the monitoring layer, which does the scanning of evils and troubles at every hook and crannies of the system. And based on that, passes with fire to these guys, which are the agents we discussed, the remediation agents, the diagnostic agents, and the escalation one. And then based off that, based off the information and the signals they have, they're able to implement one or more steps to actually remediate the problem. And then we go from red to green, which is what many engineers want to see. Now let's look at the cost benefits of having self-healing pipelines. We established earlier that the minimum time to recover could go from 30 minutes to 2 hours. But I was being generous here by bringing it down to 20 to 60 minutes. And that depends on the complexity of the issue and the experience of the people that are available on ground to resolve it. And of course, engineers will always be involved. Whether one, whether two, whether three, people have to be on ground. But when you introduce self-healing, what happens? The time to recover drops down to about 5 minutes. Because, for one, machines are faster than human beings, just so you know. And then, because of all of this information that exists already within the system, it goes to the shortest one, to the fastest one and picks that. So while you're still opening your laptop, scratching your head, it's done a bulk of things and then it's rolled back. And of course, no engineers. You're sleeping, I'm sleeping. We just wake up in the morning and we just get a report to say, you know what, something happened around 12 a.m. I know you were sleeping, but I fixed this to report. And I think that's really, really cool. Now, at the organizational level, some of the things that happens when you're trying to introduce a new technology, a new anything into an organization is human resistance. They will say things like, well, we have work, we don't need to change it. Okay. And they would look at the budget and look at the resource that's going to go into this. But if a company realizes that they could have downtime cut down by, say, 40%, instead of your system going down every 2 weeks, it doesn't even go down at all, or it goes down once in a year. The deployment cycles, they're a lot faster. To the credit of the engineer and also to the credit of the company, the customers will be happy because you tend to release things faster. Just the way we have Claude releasing things like every 2 days, which is really overwhelming. Escalations will be reduced, obviously, and then every engineer in that company, they might not, at least for a while, not look for a new job because they have improved morale within the team. I'm getting to the end of my slide now. One keyword that hasn't been mentioned since is observability. If you have I've once had a broken bone, and the first thing we did when we got to the clinic was to do an x-ray. What do you think was happening? They needed to observe. They needed to know where exactly is this fault at? Where do we need to pay attention to? And that's observability. Another quote that says that a system cannot hear you what it cannot observe. So when you're thinking of intelligent systems, you have to be able to put data points everywhere that lights up the way to make sure that every single thing within the system is visible enough. So what are some of the things for engineers here? You can introduce structured logging in systems that are distributed in nature. You could have distributed tracing and instrumentation for open telemetry. And of course, you could have things like correlation IDs, just to make sure that you have something to observe. So without observability, you're not going to be able to self-heal. This is a bonus slide, looking at the tooling and technology that we can use to build this intelligent system. And at every stage, we have some of these fancy tools. Some of them I know, some of them I don't. But these are the big things that make the system, or that's going to make the system intelligent. Combination of one or more is going to make your system smarter than a traditional CI/CD pipeline. It's my last slide. Now, the key takeaways, I've said a lot. But there are a few things that are very important to note in building this system. Number one is reliability. Your reliability is maybe not perfect, but at least it goes to about 99.9%. Because you're not firefighting anymore. It's pretty much you're chilling on the job. Because those fixers, those layers, the intelligent layers we talked about, are going to do the firefighting for you. So reliability is continuous. Feedback loops, which is really important, makes the system faster. If anything happens and the system recovers from it, it creates a feedback into the data lake, which is like the database, and it uses that to make decisions in the future, which makes it smarter. Remediation agents also can run scripts autonomously. They have the brain of their own. Because they are standalone components, they are able to just make decisions and run scripts autonomously on their own. And then, of course, we have acceleration of RCAs, which is root cause analysis, and reactive detection being part of those things that the ML will do to make the system more intelligent. And I have the last quote, which says that self-healing is not magic. It's automation, learning, and observability combined. Thank you for listening, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. As a matter of fact, we are currently writing a research paper, myself and my good friend at the back, Samson. We are going to have this paper published into a journal. And the aim of this paper is just to look at this technology, this idea, weigh the pros and cons, and try to set a precedence to say, if any team or any company wants to adopt this, these are the trade-offs you're going to make. So that you don't just go into picking up a shiny technology without knowing the nitty-gritty of what you're getting yourself into. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I would like to take them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I was just going to ask, so we have like lengths of periods, okay, that the agent is going to observe for, and you have this stated position. Is it dynamic or is it static? Okay. Okay. The question is, does the agent have like a specified duration that determines like that is going to observe for, and also do we have like human interception in the process? Because I don't trust, when it comes to deployment, I don't really I think we should have like an human interaction that comes and, if after fixing it looks at this change, like just like like a peer review, and if he's okay with it, then approve it and continues the merge.
Right. Thank you for your question. Number one is if it's static or dynamic. As human beings, you have to keep breathing. So that's right. That's your answer. It needs to keep monitoring every single time. If at any point there's a loss in connection, a lot of things could pass and the system wouldn't be aware of it. So it needs to keep monitoring. Think of it like a WebSocket that's open on both ends. It needs to keep streaming, looking around to fix the situation. And then number two, you said, does it need human intervention?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, it's going to get to some point where the system isn't intelligent enough to solve some things. So what it would do is to look at the shortest possible solution. And you know what the shortest possible solution is? Sometimes it's just to do a rollback, or just restart the service, or just go back to the previous version, send you a report. That way the system is still up.
Okay.
And you can then go there to say, okay, we'll fix this. Rather than just crash looping and having 504s or 500s, right? So does answer the question. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so of recent, we've heard stories of an AI deleting a production environment. I think something like that happened recently. Yeah, yesterday, right?
But the question will be, do you believe that?
So, well,
Do you believe that AI agents can actually pick the whole production file and just chunk it in the bin?
well, it's possible. It depends on the permissions they've been given. Like for example, OpenClaw installed on your server has permission to read and
anything, yeah.
write and do anything. So I think it depends on the permission. So I guess my question is, what kind of guardrails could be in place to prevent the AI or the agents deleting your production environment, for example?
So this framework is simple. It relies heavily on machine learning. The bulk of the work is on the machine learning agents, because the aim of what they have is just to look at issues, keep a log of them, and then use them to effect solutions in the future. So there's a bit of AI, because of course, when it comes to the complexity of looking at, oh, I've seen this before, based on that context, it uses to fix the issue. But the bulk of the work is on machine learning, and I don't think machine learning has the ability to be able to do it's very intrusive. So it's more of learning from what has happened, rather than actually doing what it's not supposed to do. I don't know if that answers your question. So when I talk about agents, it's not the AI agents that we see. It's just a way of saying these are the components that are going to work together. I couldn't find a fancy name. I had to go with agents. So that's why. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you. I think you have a question.
So,
It's going to give you. It's going to.
so Paul, just trying to get your voice in. I think a few slides back you had a pipeline diagram.
Yep.
Would that be, say for example, I was to put that flow into Jenkins, for example, or Azure or AWS
Yep.
pipelines,
Mm.
would that follow this self-healing process you're trying to achieve?
Yes, on the very high level.
Oh, okay.
You know the way we say on the high level, you just open up ID or a terminal, and then you say to Claude, draw me a picture of a cat. That's high level. But a lot of things happens in the background. So this is just high level of what's going to happen at every stage. At the very stage, you could have things like going into the data lake to say, oh, there's an issue. Have we seen this issue before? And then it points it, and then it says, yes, let's use that to fix the thing. So there's a lot of things. We drive cars, a lot of things run just to make sure the car runs. So this is just high level. There's going to be breakdown by the time we have the paper, it's going to be more granular, and we're just going to show what happens behind the scene then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
The question I had was, given that the severity of any given incident is a lot lower, what are the risks that because the pain is less, that you don't then take those learnings on board in quite the same way, and then so like the motivation for keeping a code base maintainable sometimes is actually how bad the incident was that caused it.
Yeah.
And then doing that kind of going beyond just the immediate fixes.
Yep.
And making sure that those learnings, because the severity's gone down, there could be a temptation not to take those learnings into the code base and actually have less for it to understand in terms of the observability, because you're actually fixing the issues. So like, I don't know, I just if you would comment on the risks around not doing that extra piece, or that this might hide some of your pain and then stop you actually maintaining your code.
Well, if you look at anything, they have the pros and the cons. Some of them are to hide the pain away, like you said. The risk of this, or the trade-off, I think, is going to be the complexity of having it set up. That's number one. And number two, the learning curve of having to be able to put this together. That's two. Then three, you just said, what happens if you don't do it? Is there any risk to it? No risk. What we're just trying to do is, the way AI is trying to make people, think fast, write fast. We're also trying to deploy fast, fix issues faster, and before adoption. Yeah.
Can I give you an example?
Yes, please.
Like the point of the DevOps pipelines in the last 10 years before AI was to take the human and non-deterministic element out of that pipeline.
Yeah.
So introducing an AI into a pipeline it suggests it might introduce some additional risk because you've got that non-deterministic element, and also it hides the reason the pipeline was there in the first place, because like the fix isn't to the pipeline, the fix is in some knowledge, like kind of machine learning rather than in code, if you see what I mean.
So
yeah.
If you mention AI, I've just said to him AI is just like, say, 20%.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really have that much authority in what we're doing. So the basis of what we're doing is grounded in learning from signals, learning from past experiences, and using that to automate solutions in the future. So of course, the risk, I really can't give you anything in particular right now, because like I said, we are having a research on that. So I think at that point we'll be to come up with, these are the risks of using this and using this. And then based on that, we can give recommendations to companies and teams to say, don't use this if you're not this way. Don't use this if your team is not structured enough or you're not running at a large scale. So this is, I don't know if that answers the
Yeah,
question.
it helps. It's interesting conversation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Faith. We've got Melissa now, who's going to talk about Power Platform. So have you got your own device? Yeah, amazing.
Chris, do you want to have a 5-minute break?
Yeah, okay, yeah. 5-minute break, is that okay? Amazing, yeah.
Just 5 minutes break more, that would be right.
Hi everyone, I'm Mel. Nice to meet you. First time here, and big thank you for the organisers for inviting me and putting out the pizza, and for the sponsors for probably paying for the pizza. My name's Melissa. I am a Microsoft MVP. I work for Curve Digital, who are just pretty much like any other digital consultancy. You've all seen them. And I'm also the founder for Manchester AI. Again, probably why the slides didn't want to come up. Bad joke. If you're interested in my LinkedIn, I did mess up and I forgot to put the QR code at the end, so it's there for you. If you want it at the end, just give me a shout. So I used to be a parasitologist, not a parapsychologist, which someone thought it had to do with ghost. It was a very awkward conversation. So I used to look at parasites, and now I work in Power Platform. Does anyone use the Microsoft Power Platform ecospace? Okay. We're talking Power Apps, Power BI. Don't really talk about that one. Fabric. So Power App once. That's our model-driven Canvas. Okay, Canvas is the way to go, but you're not allowed here anymore. Yeah, this is quite an interactive session as well, guys, so it'll be a really painful half hour if you're just listening to me. So, as I mentioned, I'm a parasitologist turned Power Platform consultant. So when I was a wee baby Mel in Wigan, I didn't always want to be in tech. I maybe wanted to be a video game developer at one point and then thought, that looks hard. So I decided, second best option, I'll try and go to vet school. Surprisingly harder. And to get to vet school, you have to do like a lot of university. And university is quite expensive. Let's not talk about that, but in the last 10 years, it got quite expensive. So to go to university, I actually started out as waitress, then decided minimum wage was a bit crap, so I decided to become a bouncer. So I actually used to work on Concert Square. And you can imagine me at 18 on Concert Square. It wasn't fun. I then finished my bachelor's degree in zoology and decided, quite like the science thing, vet school still looks a bit hard. So I'm going to try and get a PhD instead. I really didn't learn my lessons, did I? Went on to be a mad science presenter. That was a lot of fun. Didn't read a job description so well, and I ended up on a pig farm in Leeds as a research technician. Yeah, really need to read those job descriptions, guys. All in the hope that I would get to this PhD. And after a lot and a lot of rejections, and I mean, triple numbers, I actually got accepted onto a PhD at the University of Liverpool. So I've done the Trinity. I've done John Moores. No one booed, that's good. School of Tropical Med. No one booed, that's also good. And then finally, University of Liverpool. However, I started my PhD during COVID. Not a great time to be in a university, especially not a great time to be in what we used to call room. So I had this really crappy little basement office that was an offshoot from the poop room, so it wasn't even good enough to be the poop room. Because if you know anything about parasites, the parasite I was working with was called Fasciola hepatica, and it's liver fluke, and we were looking at using spider venoms to kill it. Really cool project, but really boring in practice. It was basically me, like this, 8 hours a day with a pipette. So 2 years in, I was pretty fed up with it. And after one too many nights on my kitchen floor just hating my life, I finally listened to some sense and some friends who worked in software engineering, and they were like, you probably do this. So I went on and dropped out of my PhD that I'd spent my whole life going towards, and went on to a software engineering bootcamp, and somehow ended up now being a mid-level consultant at a big consultancy firm. I don't really know what happened, but I'm here. The reason I'm telling you all this will come back later. I didn't just want to read off my LinkedIn profile, I promise. Also, fun thing I like to say is you could say I've traded one type of bug for another. Oh, it's going to be a really long half hour for you lot. Okay. Also, anyone tried vibe coding recently? Opinions?
Pain.
Load of rubbish, good, what?
Physical pain.
It's a cool thing, okay. I can't do it, so if you've had any luck with it, let me know. So, that being said, I've talked enough about myself, now we're actually going to get into the meat of the talk. So, I'd like you guys to put your hands up when you see the number that you think is the right answer. What percentage of children in the UK are currently at risk of weight-related diseases? 5%. 10? See one hand? 15%. Okay. Before I tell you the answer, I want you guys to watch something. Also, please ignore the Canada Summit. I didn't have time to redo my slides. They are either headlines or journal extracts or the kind of breaking news things you find on things like PubMed, British Medical Journal. A couple of them are from things like BBC News and nhs.gov.org or gov.uk. But these are all attached to scientific papers and real research, and it's horrible. So the actual number was cited at 28% of children between the ages of 2 and 15. Now, the eagle-eyed of you in the room might have noticed my reference at the bottom, because we couldn't kill the scientist in me, everything will have references. And this was actually done by the UK government in 2017. Anyone who can count, that was nearly 10 years ago. Unfortunately, we have had a lot of other issues going on, and they haven't really had the resources to redo the study. But regardless, this is horrific. That's nearly a third of children. And these children don't necessarily get a lot of say in what they're eating and what they're doing with their free time. They are a result of their circumstances. So the fact that they're going into comorbidities and comortalities at such a young age is horrific. Again, this will come back to Power Platform in a minute, I promise. I can see some confused looks in the room. Also, and I know we're never meant to assume in science, but let's just take into consideration that we've had COVID, we've had rising cost of living crises. Basically, every kid's attached to an iPad now. These numbers are going to be so much worse. So, what the hell are UPFs? Has anyone heard of a UPF? Anyone want to tell me what it is? Awesome. That's the first room that's actually known what it was first time. So, ultra-processed foods. These do get a really bad rap. An ultra-processed food is pretty much what it says on the tin, quite literally. It's a food that has been gone through a lot of processes. So, for example, if I go pick a carrot out of my garden, that is not an ultra-processed food. If I go pick a cake off the counter at Sainsbury's, that is a processed food. Processed foods are not bad by, well, they are bad by design. They are not inherently bad. The amount of which we eat them as a Britain diet is bad. Does anyone want to guess how much of a Britain's average diet is made up of the food on the left?
70 odd.
Oh, okay, very high. So it's actually 55%. Again, that's from a study about 3 years ago, but it found that 55% of the average Briton, whatever that means, their diets were made up of ultra-processed foods. Again, these foods have had a lot of the nutrition stripped out of them. They are not good in high quantities. And hey, I love a Kit Kat as much as the next person. And again, I'm not here to say that they're evil, but the amount we are eating them and the amount that kids are eating them is pretty appalling. So we're going to play a game. This is called Spot the UPF. When you see a UPF, you say yay. When you see a not UPF, so anything that wouldn't be in category 4 or a whole food, you say nay. I told you this was going to be a really long half hour, guys. I appreciate it's the end of the day, and we had tech issues. So, number 1. All UPF, good. Perfect. Very good. I try and trick people with that one. One more time. Oh, we're split. Okay, this was a trick one. So fun fact, as someone who can't have regular milk, lives in my fridge. Milk is classed as a UPF because they use emulsifiers in it to give it a more milky texture. And for any vegans in the room, you understand why. The non-emulsified ones taste awful. But it's not a bad thing. It's something that people who have dietary restrictions rely on to have a sense of normalcy and still enjoy a brew. So again, UPFs are not the problem. It's the amount we're eating them, and it's the fact that kids are getting them so young. Last sciencey bit, I promise. So this is actually from the British Medical Journal, from a review done in 2024. Again, I'm not going to make you read all this, but it was basically a review of a bunch of scientific papers to show the incident rate or likeliness of high percentage ultra-processed foods in your diet and what that would do medically. And basically, it found that it increased things like cardiovascular decline, it increased mental disorder diagnoses, obviously things like diabetes and being overweight. Oh, I don't have the other one, what a shame. So I had another graph on here previously and actually had a nice little matrix for you, but basically the ones in the moderate had lots of research attached. The ones at very low, it was questionable. But there's enough on there that it's a concern, right? Again, not here to bang a drum and tell you not to have a Kit Kat, but this all comes in now. So what's this got to do with Power Platform? These lovely people, Collaboration for Kids, are a volunteer organisation that I help out in my spare time. They approached me in 2024 on LinkedIn, lovely lady named Jenny. It's actually the message she sent me. Asked if I would be willing to help them set up a digital workspace for their organisation, because anyone who has bought SharePoint knows that it can be a little expensive to set up in terms of getting someone to build it for you. And I was just starting out 2-3 years ago, so I thought, you know what, why not? And also, I genuinely really liked these guys' mission. These guys are all about making kids and families healthier and happier. They're not there to shame anybody, and they're not there to make anyone feel bad about the choices or things they've done. They just want to help. A lot of their initiatives are research-based. The founder, Heidi Glover, is actually a biomedical engineer or a retired one, so she's pretty smart. And everybody involved is just great. Again, I'm biased because I really like them, but they're a really great organization. I highly recommend checking them out. Anyway, 2024, I was reached out to by the lovely Jenny Longsmith, and she wanted somebody to help them build a SharePoint, somewhere where they could collaborate digitally and just kind of have a landing space. Anyone who's worked in like big corp with the, the big SharePoints with your sort of intranet information pages and teams nobody uses and they just kind of get left off to the side, these guys really wanted one and it actually had a benefit for them. They had no digital collaborative workspaces. They had a really, really big technical debt in terms of administrative processes, because all the time a volunteer spends sending emails or writing out copy or just doing these repetitive processes that in Corp we have pretty much automated was time spent away from helping children and families. I didn't love that. So I was like, cool, let's look at what we can automate. They didn't, and honestly still don't have a document management system. This has been a bee in my bonnet for 2 years because we have to get a bunch of different departments to decide how they want it. Again, any of you have worked in Corp, you know what that's like. Process bottlenecks, again, anyone who's worked in consultancy or a small firm, you know what it's like. But imagine the company you worked in relied on Derek in HR, but Derek only worked every second Tuesday if there was a blood moon. That's what it's like working for a voluntary organization. People log on when they feel like because they're giving their free time. And on top of that, sometimes they just leave and they don't document anything. So you kind of have to spend a week scraping everything back together. There was no tech when I joined, but there was very low buy-in of even like, I think there was a sad little team site, which I'll show you in a minute, but there was just no adoption and there was no desire to engage with the tech. It's also worth mentioning that a lot of volunteers are of the generation that are a little bit more technophobic and they really need to be taken on that adoption journey. You can't just say, here's this new shiny solution and on you pop. You really have to take them on it, answer the questions and help them. Help them is not the right word, but get them excited about it. And then missing strategic roadmap for future project rollout. Again, that was just non-existent 2 years ago. They've come a really, really long way. Okay, starting with SharePoint question. Anyone make SharePoints, use SharePoints, not hate SharePoints? Anyone use SharePoint as a database? Good, that's the right answer. We do here, but that's because we don't have money for Dataverse. Okay, this is what I was given on my first day. It's horrific. This was actually their intranet for quite a while. I don't think anyone had touched it. I think there was one page hidden away somewhere in the back end. We weren't going to do this. So I also, disclaimer, I have no training in UI, UX, or design. I'm not a very creative person. This was never going to be pretty, but it did do what they wanted. Oh yeah, that was them not using it. I forgot about that. There we go. Okay, so this is what I built them. Again, it's not much better, but it's a little better. Like we actually have some fruit. We've got some external links. I hate the fact that two of their sister charities have the same colour scheme and one of them doesn't. And I asked if I could put CFK in the middle, and they said no. So we're just going to pretend it's fine. And also because there's going to be a couple of different acronyms in this. CHC is the Collaborative Health Community. That is like the umbrella charity. Collaboration for Kids, the one that I help out with mostly, is Collaboration for Kids. And FAS is Food Addiction Solution, which is a sister charity which helps people recovering from food addictions and eating disorders. So again, very good missions all around, really. So we replaced this with this. People were much more excited about it, despite it probably taking a few hours to build. So I'm hoping... Oh, quick question to the people in the back. Audio is disabled because one of these videos I recorded recently and it was a busy room, so I'm sorry in advance if you hear some very angry Canadians. If it plays, I'm really sorry. Yeah, okay. So, super quick tour of the new intranet. So we gave them a nice landing page. The idea was we were going to try and get them to set it up as a home page, which again, when people are using their own personal devices, is very difficult, so we settled for bookmarks. We had some templates put in for the comms team to come and add their own things in. Nice organized place for them to come and find their individual teams' workspaces, because the number of times people couldn't actually find the channel or the team in the Teams app, shockingly much. Place to keep all the policy documents, place to come and find assets if you were doing copy, projects and interventions. Like, people are coming and going from this charity on a regular basis. So if you want to kind of catch up and see what's going on or what's been done. I also built them an archive for their 2024 newsletters. I don't know who's sitting there reading 12 months of newsletters, but they've got the option. Again, really, really simple with the tech. Again, I had just about started my Power Platform journey. I was a SharePoint admin at this point, but you know, it didn't take a lot of knowledge to get them a lot of value. So, a couple of quick wins. Again, if you guys are used to the Power Platform, these are probably not going to be new and exciting for you, but they were very exciting for me at the time, and they really helped the charity out. Bear in mind, we didn't have a lot of technical resource on board at the time. It was me, Tim, and Rick. Tim disappeared for like 8 months, and Rick just had to deal with all the senior leadership stuff. So it was just kind of me with the computer hoping for the best. So quick wins. Microsoft will forever have my heart for bringing out the site branding in SharePoint. Because when I first started, and I was a scientist, right? I had no coding background. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I had to use this god-awful thing in VS Code to try and write custom themes. This gave me more trouble than I care to admit. And I usually, and this was like, you know, a couple of years ago, so Copilot and ChatGPT couldn't fix it for me yet. Now I just put it into Copilot, but had a lot of issues with this. Then they came out with site branding, which you can just go into your settings on your SharePoint, set up your themes. You can have, I don't think there's a limit, I haven't tested it, but you can have as many as you want. The reason I love this for charity organizations is they don't need somebody technical to come and rewrite their branding themes. They don't need someone who understands this. They can just go in and build a theme. They can copy themes. There's font packages. It's so user-friendly for people who aren't techie, and just thank you, Microsoft, for that. Another thing, FAQ list. Now, I know this is pretty ugly, but again, they loved it, and that's all that matters. Because normally when you have a list in SharePoint, it is just, you know, rows upon rows. You've got your columns, you've got your rows, and you've got your data in there. This is very much a very simple piece of JSON, and it enabled us to, you know, add a queue at the front, put some color behind it, color code it, and just make it a bit more interactive for the volunteers. Things I liked about this were searchability. So obviously we have search turned on, so if they have a particular query about where do I find my documents? Maybe not, because still no document management system. But, you know, for example, one of the FAQs in there is how do I set my profile image in MS365? We also have a video for that now, but we did originally just have an instruction. So they can search that, it will come up. Increased readability, again, like I mentioned. Some of the people we have in the organization are a little bit more technophobic, so just making it a little bigger and prettier helps. And color-coded. If you know me in real life, you know that I love a color-coded spreadsheet, so I had to color-code this. Additionally, Knowledge Center. So again, this is nothing new in SharePoint. We have a lot of wikis in Corp. But I built a very, very easy how-to guide for a bunch of just general questions we were getting. So intranet site tour, so for people to be able to find things. how to update your Microsoft 365 profile picture. I don't think this is a video. It's a video. A surprise even myself. This is the Canada background noise, I'm very sorry. Setting your homepage in different browsers. We've also added how to add it to the favorites bar. We've also got things like turning a Word doc into a PDF, things that people who work in tech probably take for granted that people who don't work in tech really don't know how to do. So this was a really big win, and we got some really good feedback from the rest of the org from this. Excuse me. Maybe if I switch the video, it doesn't like it. Another quick win was the feedback form. So again, if you work in a charity organization, people are not always available. You don't know what people's working hours are. Emails just kind of get left in the dust and Teams messages get ignored. So we have this really handy intranet feedback form for people to tell us if they found it easy to navigate. This is going to surprise me, going to be a video, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not. Apologies. But yeah, so things like, how easy was it to navigate? Do you have any questions with a free-form text box? Do you have any features you'd like to implement? Things like that. And then that all gets stored in a SharePoint list. I know, but no Dataverse. All gets stored in a SharePoint list, and then we're able to see it. We're able to see if there's any teething problems, and we've got kind of a record for the future. So again, Microsoft Form, hooked up to a Power Automate, hooked up to a SharePoint list. Really easy win. Okay, my favorite part is the Power Automate section, and not just because I'm a Power Automate MVP. I love Power Automate. I think it's fantastic. I also love the quote that time is what we want most, but it's what we use worst. As a chronic ADHD sufferer, it is true. But yes, so I mentioned earlier about all the time that volunteers spend doing these repetitive tasks is time spent away from actually helping a child or family. So we went away and looked at some processes, me and Heidi and some of the other teams, and we decided that these were some great places to start automation. So the first one is the new starters process flow. New starters flow. So I want you guys to imagine the scenario where in a charity, we have a lot of people coming and going. Obviously, they're not paid, so they kind of give what time they can. So whenever someone new joins the charity, the IT lead, Rick, needs to email HR for the information for the new joiner to be able to set them up in the admin center to give them access to the tenant. HR then needs to locate and send the information. Again, much more difficult because there's no document system. And then the IT lead needs to create the new user information in the admin center, and the IT lead needs to email the person on their private email. They then need to email him back, and then he needs to send it back to HR, and yeah, it's a mess. So we were like, okay, really simple win here. Oh, sorry, before that. We did some guesstimates because I like KPIs. Can't help it, consultancies put me on the dark side. We estimated about 60 minutes for 3 to 5 volunteers per month. Again, sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less. So that's 3 to 5 hours a month wasted on silly, monotonous things, 36 to 60 hours a year. And that is time that could be spent helping kids and families. We don't love that. So now my video, which hopefully is not going to have sound on it, is, but we can turn it off first. So this is the wonderful Power Automate. We have since improved this, but we're just going to go with this version for now. So what we do is we have a Microsoft form sent out to the new recruit. We have them fill it in with things like their name, their role, what department they're going to be in, etc. And then that sends an email automatically to Rick, the IT lead, and he can set them up, and it even tells him what their email is going to be because we always have a standard format, and he literally just has to copy paste. Also, eagle-eyed of you in the room will have noticed it's in a try-catch. Does anyone know try-catch? I don't want to teach anyone to suck eggs, perfect. But basically, I put a configuration in where if it fails for whatever reason, maybe the data was wrong because we don't have validation in the form, then it will tell me it's failed. And yes, so you can also see my spelling mistake, so a little bit of dyslexia there. But there's a problem with your flow, notify me and store the response when the new joiner form is completed. And this will tell me what the issue is and I can go fix it. Again, this is great because I don't check my emails every day, so at least I've got a backlog and I can keep an eye on it. It doesn't like the videos. So that's saving about 60 hours a month. The next process we identified was the help request flow. So this one was kind of a burden of my own making because a lot of them were about the intranet and where to find things. But basically, whenever somebody has an issue with the IT, they have a couple of options. They can go to their department lead, they can email us directly, send us a team message. They tend to just message their department lead, who then messages Rick, who then messages either me or Tim. So there's a chain of like 3 or 4 emails there that didn't need to happen. And again, if we're not working every day, this can spiral. So that gets delegated to me or Tim, and then one of us will respond unless we forget, or maybe both of us will respond and waste our time. And then we'll have to feed it back to the department lead, who'll feed it back to the person who actually wanted the answer. That sounds like the world's worst game of telephone to me. So again, really simple. We made a Microsoft form. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting I put these KPIs in. So we estimated 2 to 3 day response time. I'm probably being generous to myself there. Let's say we had 10 issues a month. Again, we are a charity of, I think, nearly 100 people now, so that's about right. Can take 20 to 30 days of lost time, which takes 240 to 360 days. That's nearly a full year wasted in a year. That math's a little janky, I know, but these things are really, I don't know how people do this as like a business analyst and estimate these things when there's no real data, but that's the estimate. Demo time. Okay, see if the video works. So again, we actually put front end on this. So there is actually a page on the SharePoint that everybody knows about. Please. So there's a page on the SharePoint that everyone knows about. They click those 3 dots, click on Get Help. They've got the how-to videos, the FAQ, and submit a help request. When they click on this, it will take them to a beautiful Microsoft form. You guys will be sick of Microsoft forms by the end of this. Again, it's going to capture their name, capture their email address. We do need to put some validation on this because, again, we've been getting some weird emails coming through. They can tell us which category it is, and they can tell us how urgent it is. Doesn't make us reply any faster, but it does make them feel better. And then you can briefly describe what the problem is. What the Power Automate will then do, which I think I have a demo of that part, is it will fire off an email to the shared IT help inbox, which both me, Rick, and Tim all have access to. It will also store it in, oh, I am showing you, good for me. It will also share it in a SharePoint list, which my favorite part about using a SharePoint list is the metadata. So again, we can see very visually like how urgent is something. Is it open? Is it in progress? Is it resolved? Who resolved it? And was a resolution email sent? I used to do a little bit of ticket support in my previous job, and the number of times I'd fix a problem and not tell the person I'd fixed it, that usually got me in trouble. It's like, but I did my job. Anyway, so again, this is really helpful for seeing if there's like a particular teething problem or a bottleneck, or maybe there's particular departments we need to give a little more attention to. Again, this is all demo data, but it has been really useful. Okay, last of the Power Automates is the craved survey flow. So this is actually for food addiction solutions, so FAS. And their project coordinator came to me because she'd seen some of the other flows we'd done, and she asked if there was a way to digitize their paper surveys. What did we use? Microsoft Form. Anyway, I said you get sick of it. So basically, this project is all about capturing data from patients in a clinical setting. And sometimes they'll send the surveys home with them where they're more comfortable answering. They can be a little bit personal in questions. It's a very personal topic. So there was a lot of forms either getting lost or people maybe second guessing it after they'd taken the form home, which is understandable. Some of the forms got lost in the actual office, and some forms just never made it into the Excel sheet. Also, if you ever store data in an Excel sheet, it just, oh, I hate it. There's also a lot of errors that can be made when copying into an Excel sheet by a volunteer. So it was a bad process, but I understand why they did it. So they decided that we would digitize it. We have no idea how much time was lost. I wasn't even going to try and give you a fake KPI for this. So another beautiful form gets sent. This time it gets sent as an everyone on the internet link to make sure people outside the tenant can access it. Because anyone who uses the Microsoft knows they have to be in the tenant to be able to submit things. That was the first mistake I made when I did this. It grabs the response details, sticks it into a SharePoint list, sends an email. I mean, that says to me, but it does now send it to the actual FAS coordinator. And we've even done some really cool work with a Power BI specialist who has made a beautiful dashboard based off the data that comes in. So completely automated system end to end. Save time, and we get more responses. So pretty good. Okay. Again, I apologize, this was for Canada, hence the about. So, what about AI, eh? So AI is kind of the big hot button topic at the minute. And I also founded Manchester AI, so I quite like AI, or at least I like bits of it. And one of the things I wanted to do at the charity, and I've been fortunate enough to do, is take over their AI governance. Working in a charity organization is interesting because obviously, again, these people are not necessarily in tech-facing roles, and the AI conversations are very different. So the things that I picked up on some discovery with the different teams were most people had a real lack of confidence around using AI, either because they didn't know where to start, they were scared it was going to steal their information. There was like this real lack of confidence and fear that I noticed that I maybe took for granted working in a tech. I also had a really interesting conversation with one lady who had a really potent mistrust of AI and didn't want her family using it, didn't want us using it. It was a really good thought experiment to see that other side so strongly. We did kind of come to a neutral ground in the middle, which was nice. There's too many tools. I think Faith mentioned about Claude comes up with a new thing every 2 minutes. When I first started talking about AI with the charity, there was just Copilot and ChatGPT. That was basically it. Then you've got things like DeepSeek, Grok, Mistral AI. Like there's just so many. There's Cursor, Base 64. I can't even think now, but there's so many I get emails about, and I'm just like, just don't worry about the tool. Just find one that is not connected to anything and don't put any personal data in it is my general advice. Oh, that was it. The reason this conversation came up actually was I was in a meeting with some people from the senior leadership team, and they had put patient data into, I think it was Grok. Yeah, and we said, no, don't do that. So yeah, so I made an AI timeline for CFK. We are currently in phase 2. So first thing I had to do was actually define my own role, which was weird. So I had to decide what I was actually going to do and why I was doing it, which was all about governance, guardrails, and making people feel safe and enabled with AI in the charity. Make sure the stakeholders and the current use of AI. Shocker, there was really none. Recruit AI champions. So again, this one was quite fun. I got to go around the different departments and talk to people and kind of see who was interested in learning more. It's actually most people, which was awesome. Drafted an AI strategy and government framework with the help of AI, which I thought was pretty cool. Finalized and presented it back to the board. They were happy with it. And then we've started to develop training materials. So we're actually in the process of doing some AI 101 workshops, which are kind of very simple. What AI is, machine learning versus generative AI, and some use cases, safety, guardrails. We talk a tiny bit about red teaming. There's some really cool stuff. So yeah. Phases 3 and 4 are more about seeing if we can actually have a use case and a benefit, because again, AI is very expensive. As a charity, we don't really have any funds to do this, and we definitely can't justify charity funds being used on this when the funds should be used on helping children and families. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a fruitless endeavor, but if nothing else, it's going to make people feel more comfortable using AI in their day-to-day. And even if it just helps them, be more productive and feel happier, then it was a win for me. Okay, I talked a lot of you guys today, so I appreciate your patience. The main reason I made this talk was I was in Norway last year, and I was talking to a bunch of really cool people who do these kind of Microsoft talks all over the world. And I told them about the AI stuff. I told them about the charity stuff I was doing, and they said it was cool, and they were interested, and that's why I built the talk. But the main thing I want people to take away is I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I've been doing this for like 4 years now. I still don't even know half the iceberg. And I actually managed to have an impact on a charity with basically no skills. So imagine what you guys in this room with way more experience and skills could do if you identified something that you thought you could help with. And I again, don't want to get all cheesy on you guys, but I'm a big believer in, we all complain how crappy life is. And okay, what are you doing to make it better? What are you doing to go out and make things better and help people? Because fun fact, there is a study, and I can't quote it off the top of my head, but there's a lady named Stephanie Stacy. And she did a talk once saying about how the happiest people in the world, I believe, are in Finland. and they do the most charity work of anyone in the world. That's one of the reasons they're happy, is because they help each other. So my call to action for everybody in the room is find something you care about and do one positive action towards it. Doesn't matter if you're new at it, doesn't matter if you've got no skills in it, just do it. I think my clicker's broke. There we go. And a quote to finish it off. So I was a big fan of Aesop fables as a kid. And there is this fable about the mouse and the lion. Does anyone know it? So there's a little mouse and there's a lion. And the lion captures him one day, and the mouse is begging and pleading with him, please don't eat me, Mr. Lion. And the lion kind of, I think he sort of laughs it off, and he's like, no, sorry. And the mouse says, I might help you one day, or, you don't know what will happen if you let me go. And the lion sort of laughs it off, lets him go anyway, doesn't really think anything of it. Next day, gets caught in a hunter's trap, and along comes the little mouse. And it's like, oh, isn't it a good thing you didn't eat me? Now I can let you down. And then they were best buds, and they run off into the sunset. No, I don't know. Probably still tried to eat him. But the whole point is, you don't know what one small act of kindness will lead to, but I guarantee you it's probably not going to make it worse. So, no act of kindness, however small, is ever wasted. And that's me. Any questions?
On the Power Platform stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether it's good for charity or in